if you were ever in doubt about AFC Bournemouth losing their community edge, I advise you to listen to the next 5 minutes or so. Sometimes, especially now that we've been in the Premier League, there's always the opinion that the club is maybe not as engaged with its fans as it once was. Some people could say that's the case, but one person who definitely couldn't is Dan Hall. You might know Dan from Twitter or Facebook. He's been fighting leukemia for the past, quite a few years now, 6, 7, maybe even more. And he is Bournemouth's number one fan. He goes to most games and has been to meet the players many a time. And there's such a close bond between players, staff and Dan Hall, including a certain Mr. Eddie Howe, whose number he has pretty much on speed dial. Dan texted him some words of encouragement when times were tough, and Eddie said, we're going to keep fighting like Dan has over these years. And my goodness, they came out fighting on Saturday, didn't they? But it transpires that the good performance may not just be down to Eddie and his tactics, but Mr. Dan Hall himself. Dan was invited in to speak to the players last week to give them a bit of an inspirational team talk. So I asked Dan how it all came about.
Yeah, hi Sam, hi fellow Cherry fans. It came about, basically, I think it was after the Watford game. I just sent Eddie Howe a text message with a little bit of support, say, keep going. You've got my full support, and although there's a few minority that I'm sure he was aware of, didn't support it, I just wanted to make sure that he knew that he still had a lot of us genuine long-term fans there. I just sent a text wishing him support and basically, made a joke lightly that, if you ever need a chat or a bit of a team chat, I'm here for the taking, laugh out loud. Didn't expect to hear back. Anyway, next day I heard back, basically saying we'd love to have you to come in. And from that moment on, I think it was a few days later, from the Watford game, Fletcher tried ringing me a few times. Big Fletch. I was in the bath, and the phone kept ringing a few times. Anyway, cut a long story short, I got out the bath, give it a message to see who it was, and it was Steve Fletcher, and he said, can I give you a call? I said, replied, of course you could. He gave me a call, we were on the phone for probably 10 minutes, having a bit of a chat, and he basically said that, him and Eddie had been talking, and, Eddie knew me quite well from a few visits and the times we've meeting and opened the Bournemouth private clinic on a hospital together. And he said Eddie would like you to come in and see if you can give the lads a bit of a lift from a supporter's point of view. Tell us what the club means and how you fought your own battles, how when times are low you've got through it, etc., etc. And I was a bit shocked, but I agreed to it, and that's how it came about, really.
Wow, that sounds absolutely amazing. Now, I know you've been and met the players before, etc., but to be invited in and basically give them a team talk, I think that's amazing. So what kind of words did you say?
What did I say in the team talk? Well, to be honest, I was shown in the players' pavilion, training pavilion, and walked up by the security, and then Fletch come out. And I didn't really get a chance to think. I was just sort of introduced on a microphone by Eddie Howe, where all the team had sat there, and there was a lot of backroom staff. And I sort of got the microphone, was asked a few questions at a time by Fletcher, and basically I just spoke from the heart. And all I said, without saying too much of what was said, that all we want to see is a bit of fight, passion, determination, and that when times are hard or low, you fight for yourself, your family, your friends, and you just play for that badge, and you just make everyone in this club proud. And I think the performance after that showed that. Whether or not I played a part or not, whether I played 1%, it was just nice to see yesterday that, we went out there and it was fight from the off, and that made me proud.
That is brilliant. And what was the reaction like of some of the players? I mean, I've seen the photo of you with all the staff and all the players, which I think is absolutely superb. But yeah, what was the reaction from the players?
The reaction, well, I think they're all a bit sort of, who's this guy? What's going on here? Because I wore a Bournemouth tracksuit to try and fit in. But no, I mean, quite a few of them know of me anyway. The ones that have been there a bit longer term, they know of me. Obviously, my story, it was in the Echo once or twice, and I've met a couple of them a few times, as you say. But I was looking at the faces of a certain few of them, like Simon Francis, Lewis Cook, Aaron Ramsdale, and probably Ryan Fraser in particular. And they're all, deep in. It looked like they were deep in thought. And as long as I was striking home something making them tick, I was pretty impressed. But the reaction after the speech was that every single player came up to me individually and shook my hand, and said, "We inspire you," and what a lovely speech. And to me, that meant quite a bit.
And I hear you also had some lunch with them. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I did my speech. I didn't really expect to stay too long, to be honest. But obviously I was there for 3 hours in total in the end, which was nice. Got to have some lovely little chats with the players and that. But after the speech, and they had a big photo of me on a big projector screen, which was a touch embarrassing, which was actually a picture of me at my first game back from my transplant, where I wasn't allowed to come for just over 2.5 years, which was my last game was Charlton away. We won the league. And I couldn't see the Premier League for nearly 3 seasons, so I was always worried I was never going to see it. But Eddie just basically said, and Fletch, have you eaten? And I said, no, I'm okay. And they insisted, stay and have lunch with us and have a drink, have lunch. And I got sat next to Eddie Howe and Stephen Purchase and Fletcher, Jason Tyndall, all on the same table. We just had some lunch and there was some light banter. I was really made to feel at home, and it was a special moment.
Amazing. So, I mean, for any fan that's listening, who is thinking that the club has maybe lost touch with fans, what would your comment be?
What would my comment be on that? Well, for me personally, and I've got another little boy who I know quite well, who's just been diagnosed with a brain tumour. He's only 9, and they did a similar thing with him, I think last week or the week before. He's a close friend of mine's son. He's got a very tough time ahead of him, bless him. But they did a similar thing, as I said, and to me, that just speaks volumes of the club and the management. Fletch said to me, not many clubs would do this, and I generally believe it as well. Not many clubs would get fans in, let them see around in such dark times, important times, transfer deadline day of all days, and do such things. I don't think this club will ever lose its value of the fans. We're a family club, community club, and it's the fans that make the club. And I think that shows.
Top stuff. Well, Dan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It really means a lot. And I just think it's superb that we've got, a manager like Eddie that's always keen to, keep a close involvement with its supporters. I've met him before as well. And, I think it's a thing that they do fairly under the radar as well. So, to have this also publicised, I think is such a good thing, but it just shows that there is always the connection there. And I applaud you for that team talk, mate. And hopefully you can send some wise words to them ahead of Sheffield United. But Dan, thank you so much, and up the Cherries.